Today, I am joined by a PA who is going to tell us all about the world of allergy and immunology, what she does on a daily basis, what kind of cases and what kind of patients they see, what her schedule is like, and things that she absolutely loves about allergy and immunology, and other things that are kind of a challenge. So if that sounds interesting to you, then don't go anywhere. Hi, it's Michelle with the Medicine Couch. Thanks for joining me today. One small favor to ask you: if you find these videos informative and interesting, please feel free to share them with medical colleagues who might also learn from them. Now let's dive in and learn about allergy and immunology.
Hello everyone, my name is Kristine Cisko and I have been a physician assistant for 17 years and I'm currently working in allergy and immunology.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Kristine. It's a pleasure to have you here on the channel. Well, you're in allergy and immunology now. Is that what you worked in your whole career, or did you ever work in any other specialties?
When I graduated from my PA program, that was back in 2004, I was working for a dermatologist in the city. So I was working at Weill Cornell Medical College in the city. And I did learn quite a lot about dermatology and absolutely loved it. I was commuting into the city 2 hours one way. So after I just started to start my own family, I did take a job in the suburbs.
Understandable. That is quite the commute. Do you feel like there's some cross connection between dermatology and allergy and immunology?
There is quite a crossover between allergy and immunology and dermatology. So I did find the transition actually very easy. So a lot of allergies present themselves on the skin. So right away, making that transition from dermatology to allergy and immunology, we see a lot of patients who have drug reactions or eczema. We have some patients who think that they're having a drug reaction, but it turns out that they have maybe pityriasis rosea, or maybe they have tinea versicolor, or something very common actually that I would see in dermatology. And the allergist that I currently work for, he allows me to do punch biopsies on rashes that we see on patients in his office. So that also allows me to add a little something different to our practice because I learned how to do that in dermatology first.
I love that, pointing out that you can take skills from one specialty and apply them in another. Sometimes I think we tend to just think, oh, I'm in this specialty, I can't do any of that. But you can make your practice kind of how you want, right? Make it almost like a niche practice too. In the population that you see in allergy and immunology, do you see a specific age or do you see a whole range of people?
So what I really enjoy about allergy and immunology is that I do get to see little infant patients, which I love. So we do have very young children or infants, like I said, coming in maybe at the start of 3 months old. Those would be babies that have food allergies, specifically to dairy. And then we can have some toddlers. They might have seasonal allergies, or they might be starting preschool and they start developing coughs and colds, and asthma starts to present itself, or maybe even eczema at a young age. I see a lot of adolescents, teenagers, and then we see adults and senior citizens as well. So that is actually one thing that I really do love about allergy and immunology, is just being able to see such a broad range of ages. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then actually, when you think about it, is a bit unique. Even in family practice where you see all ages, probably a good 60 to 70% of your panel is going to be like 65 and older. But I imagine that's not the case with allergy and immunology, right? Because rashes show up at any age, right?
Yes. I mean, we have senior citizen patients who come in and they might be having a drug reaction to a medication that they've been taking for years. We see a lot of NSAID allergies. So a lot of times we might have older individuals that start taking baby aspirin daily, or maybe they're taking 325 milligrams of aspirin daily. And so they'll start to develop a rash. We see a lot of angioedema sometimes that is associated with using ACE inhibitors. And it's not actually considered an allergic reaction. It's just a side effect from taking an ACE inhibitor. So we get to see really quite a wide range of patients.
Is allergy to immunology the same as, like, I've seen practices that say asthma and allergy is like how they market themselves? Is it all the same, or is that separate, different kind of specialty?
No, I would think it's all the same. So we handle patients with food allergies, drug allergies, and then obviously environmental allergies, contact allergies. And we do just by nature have patients who also have asthma. So in the office, we do pulmonary function testing, we do spirometry. And then, of course, we have a lot of patients with sinus disease. So we'll see patients who have chronic sinus disease with nasal polyposis, or they might have chronic sinus issues, deviated nasal septums, or their turbinates might be hypertrophied. So we really do see quite a lot of things. And we see a lot of eczema as well. So eczema kind of goes hand in hand with even an irritant dermatitis or a contact dermatitis. And sometimes, too, contact dermatitis does get confused with an irritant dermatitis because now there's a lot of anti-aging products, and those products specifically have retinol in them or high hyaluronic acid, and they can be very irritating to the face. And so some, especially women, will get, almost like a red, itchy rash on their face, and it's just because those particular ingredients are very drying to their skin. So it's very cool. We see a wide variety of things.
Yeah, I never really thought about it, but as you talk more and more, besides the dermatology and allergy connection, I also think she's kind of doing a little bit of pulmonology, maybe a little pediatrics, family practice. You're seeing everybody. So that's cool that this one specialty kind of has so many different kind of other specialties built into it. I really like that. I think that's interesting. Have you guys ever had any anaphylactic reactions there in the office? I mean, I know you're prepared for it, but is that something that happens kind of commonly?
Yeah, so we have anaphylaxis in the office pretty commonly, although I will say it does seem to happen a bit more with allergy immunotherapy. When we're doing an oral challenge, particularly to a food, we're pretty certain that it's safe to do it, or we wouldn't be doing the oral challenge. Having said that, we have had a few cases of anaphylaxis where we're doing food challenges as well. And I always laugh because looking back, one of my first days back from maternity leave, maybe 13 years ago, I had 2 cases of anaphylaxis in the shot room. So 2 particular patients on allergy shots had anaphylaxis. And I had a drug challenge in the back to aspirin and 1 to penicillin, and they all had anaphylaxis the same day. So 4 in one day was the most I've ever had in my entire career. And it was my first day back from maternity leave.
Just a little bit stressful day, huh?
Yeah.
And so you had mentioned about seeing you have new patients come in as well as doing follow-ups. I'm curious about the autonomy level. I know it's different by practice, but are you seeing new patients when they come in, or do they always see the physician first and you're mainly doing follow-ups? How does that work in your office?
So I see new patients and I also see follow-up patients, and I do have really very autonomous. So I think I have been in the same office for 17 years. So very often I'm left there and my boss will take vacation. I always have communication with him available through phone, but he can go on vacation. He takes the day off and I am there by myself. I do occasionally run into patients who would prefer to see a physician over a physician assistant, but I'm sure that's not specific to allergy and immunology. That's going to be any specialty, or even if it's internal medicine or family practice. But I think the fact that I've been there for so long, there's very few things that I haven't necessarily seen or dealt with before. And if I haven't, I always tell the patient, this is the plan that we're going to go with for now. And at the end of the day, when I speak to my supervising physician, if there seems to be something or a change in plans or, something that he recommends differently than me, then of course I will call you back and let you know, and then we can discuss it from there. But that is one of the things I really do like about my job, is because I have been there so long. I have a lot of patients that I've known for years.
It also sounds like in this specialty, if I'm hearing correctly, like you have some people that you may only see once or twice. They're coming in for a challenge and just need to know if they have this allergy or whatever. So you have that, but it sounds like most of the patients are kind of recurrent. You have that long-term relationship with patients. Is that correct, that you have that mixture?
Yes, we do have some patients that just come in 1 or 2 times, or they might be patients who maybe are specifically coming in for allergy immunotherapy. And so we only see those patients maybe once a year. But even food allergy patients, they might come in for their initial food allergy testing. And then, especially pediatric patients, we like to see them once a year so we can get an updated weight, and we would update their dosing for, say, Benadryl or prednisone, or even their EpiPen dose can change. So I would say a majority of our patients, they really are follow-up patients, and patients that even if they're coming in as a new patient, we see them really maybe multiple times throughout the year, 3 or 4 times a year. It's very rare we have someone who just comes maybe once and never comes back again, but it is possible, sure.
So when you said 20 to 25 patients a day, of course, that is the reality of medicine today. No matter, it seems, where you work, having to see lots of patients. But in allergy and immunology, is 20 to 25, do you find that fairly manageable? I mean, like, are these visits follow-ups that are usually fairly quick, or is every day pretty stressful just trying to get through those numbers?
That's interesting. So some days are definitely easier than others. I might have a day where a majority of my patients are follow-up patients and they're not requiring any allergy testing at all. They prefer to continue to strictly avoid whatever it is that they're allergic to, and there really is no need to review blood work or put on additional testing. But then there are days where I will have patients come in and their asthma's flaring, their eczema's flaring. They think that they've developed a new allergy, and I might be dealing with a few different problems all in one visit. Oftentimes, when we see a new patient, a new consult patient is typically on my schedule for 45 minutes. And the reason for that is because a lot of our patients are going to require skin testing. They might be having a full pulmonary function test, and then they also might be having rhinolaryngoscopy, in which case each of those different procedures is going to take me quite some time to complete. So I will say I do have some stressful days. And of course, now with insurance companies, and we are a very small practice. Anyway, bottom line is there are some days that I leave feeling very frustrated because I wish that there was even more time that I could spend with some difficult patients. But I think at the end of the day, it does even out because I tend to have an equal mixture of patients who need a lot of time, and then my next patient won't need as much time. So even if I fall back just a little bit, I can usually pick it back up again.
So what procedures do you personally do? Not necessarily in the office, but like as a PA, what procedures are you doing?
I do skin prick testing. I do intradermal testing. I do rhinolaryngoscopy, and I do the punch biopsies. So those would be the main procedures that I do. But I do interpret pulmonary function testing. I interpret spirometry. We put on patch testing. And so I will place the patch testing, and then I also remove it when the patient comes back, and I'll interpret those results. So I really do a lot of different things.
Have there been any things in this specialty that kind of have been a surprise to you, or just the things that you absolutely love about this specialty?
Well, what I absolutely love about the specialty is there really aren't too many sad things that I see on a regular basis. For the most part, we're seeing healthier patients. It's very rare that we see patients that are not healthy. They do come in, but a majority of the time, it's a happy situation and we are able to help people. The unfortunate thing that I would say is there are patients who truly suffer with eczema or who truly suffer with asthma, and they oftentimes might require a biologic medication. We have a lot of patients too who suffer with chronic idiopathic urticaria, and they really need some of those more expensive biologic medications. And sometimes it's very difficult to get those approved. And so I would say that's a frustrating part of my job, is knowing that there is something out there to help them, but their insurance most likely will not cover it.
It's got to be maddening. And so when you talk about being able to help people, so do you feel like you get really good responses from the different shot therapies and things you do? So you're actually seeing resolution, or at least really great control of allergies?
Oh, yes, absolutely. A lot of our patients do very well on allergy immunotherapy. And actually, I decided to do it myself while I'm working there so I can get a feel for what it's like as well. And of course, I have allergies, so it worked out in my benefit. But we are, for the most part, able to help people. And one of the things that I really like is because we're not part of a huge conglomerate group, we tend to be able to get that small office feeling where when the patient comes in, we really can talk to them and have a little bit more freedom to spend additional time if we need to. And I really, really enjoy that. It's rare that we can't help someone, but I think sometimes too, compliance plays a huge part. So, especially younger patients, I would say in their 20s or maybe early 30s, they're working hard and they're putting in the hours at work, and they might have severe persistent asthma and they're not compliant with their medications. Maybe they forget or they don't have the time or they just feel like they're young and they're going to work past this on their own. And so we do have patients who are non-compliant too, and that makes the job very frustrating. But I'm sure you can find that in other specialties as well.
And so what personalities do you think would do well in this field?
So just somebody I think who's a great listener and somebody who can work well with both pediatric patients and adult patients. It's just great to sit and listen to what people have to say. It's very fast paced. I think it's a lot of keeping up with some new medications because you've got to think a lot of allergy medications have been around for years. A lot of medications are kind of old school. You know, you've got your typical over-the-counters, Allegras or Teclaritin, and a lot of patients have tried those before they come into your office. So you've got to kind of like step it up a notch and just keep on top of the newer medications that coming out to the market, maybe something that's not available over the counter. So you can try to help somebody with something different. So I think immunology and working with patients who have food allergies, I think there'll be a lot of advances in medicines when it comes to food allergies. And hopefully over the next several years, there might be some alternative solutions to patients who are suffering with those problems as well.
And then when you're talking about personalities too, I was thinking maybe people who like to be detectives in a way. You have to do a lot of putting pieces together to try to figure out what's causing their allergies.
Yeah, you do have to come up with a lot of questions and try and think outside the box, maybe something that someone's not even thinking about.
And so is
Yeah.
your schedule traditionally like a Monday through Friday kind of schedule? And what are the general hours? Like if you worked your full day, like are you working like 7 to 5 or 8 to 4?
I go in at 9:30, but my office does open at 8. The 9:30 works better for me because I take my children to school, but I work from 9:30 to 6 on Mondays. Tuesdays I work from 9:30 to 7. Wednesdays I have off. Thursdays I work from 9:30 to 6. Fridays I work from 9:30 to 4. And then I do work every other Saturday from 8 to 1.
Yeah, it's good to talk about these things because I think too often we just accept whatever schedule they tell us they need. Of course, obviously you've been working at this office for a long time, but it never hurts to ask, right? Like if they have flexibility, if you have kids in the morning you got to take somewhere, just see what are the possibilities. Can we tweak things a little bit? Can I go from full-time maybe down to 0.9 or 0.8 FTEs and have that little flexibility in the morning. So glad you shared that with us. So if somebody's watching this and they think, well, allergy and immunology really sounds kind of great and maybe something that I would do well. Can you give us any ideas of how people might prepare themselves or resources they might could turn to so that they can learn a little bit about the specialty before applying for jobs?
What's great about being a physician assistant, I feel, and it is one of the reasons why I chose the profession, is you can switch specialties. For example, I did it. I was in derm and then I switched to allergy and immunology. My husband is a physician assistant as well. We met at school. And so he's kind of switched around quite a bit as well. So I do think that in any situation, if you find your supervising physician to be patient and a great teacher, you can pretty much switch and do anything that you want to do in the field. I think it's hard sometimes to find a supervising physician that has those qualities. As far as preparing to do something in allergy and immunology, if you like it, you can always buy one of the review books that you would use to study for the recertifying exam, and you can read up on allergy and just the ENT portion, and you could actually take a peek at pulmonology as well. And those probably would help get you at least prepared or put some ideas in your mind as to what you can look forward to seeing or different options about how you need to treat the patients. But I think a lot of it is really on the job learning. You've got to be there. You've got to be seeing and hearing the patients. You've got to be asking the questions and just learning from who you're working with.
But getting back to allergy and immunology specifically, are there any societies that you're aware of, either PA or just national societies, that would be good? Or do you guys have any specific book that you turn to a lot to look up things? Anything like that to share?
I use Up to Date all of the time. There are some journals that are, obviously allergy related, and the doctor that I work for has a subscription to that and will kind of share things back and forth, or usually he'll find something that's pertinent and he'll point it out to me. But I myself really like the prescriber's letter, and I really love Up to Date because I can have Up to Date on my phone, I can have it on my computer, and so I can look up anything that I would need help with or guidance with, and it has all the information right there in front of me that I need. So those are really the two resources that I use on a regular basis. I don't believe that there's a specific allergy group or society for physician assistants to join, although I do know there is one for dermatology.
Well, thank you so much, Kristine, for joining us today and telling us all about your specialty of allergy and immunology.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed your company.
Allergy and immunology sounds like a pretty great specialty, but if it's not right for you and you're still looking for the specialty that does resonate with you, then you might want to check out this playlist here. It's a collection of interviews I've done with PAs and NPs working in all the various medical specialties. Thanks for joining me today, and as always, take care, stay sane, and I'll see you next time on the Medicine Couch. Bye.